Today is a very happy day for me personally. The opportunity to launch a new sports development initiative with someone who has been a leader in this area and whose enthusiasm for it and capabilities of carrying through on it in terms of his credibility across the board in the sports world and its connection to development here in Hawaii is without parallel, and that's Lieutenant Governor Shan Tsutsui. We want to expand sports entertainment and participation opportunities here in Hawaii. As you no doubt recall from the time of the APEC meetings when all of the countries of the Asia-Pacific region met here in Hawaii to discuss economic and social circumstances here in the 21st century throughout the Pacific region, we wanted to position ourselves as the anchor of the Pacific. We don't want to see ourselves as a crossroads or a bridge. We're the anchor of the Asia-Pacific region here in the 21st century. And a key element in that is in the area of sports and expansion of participation opportunities for people of the Asia-Pacific region. With Shan at the helm, I think we're going to be able to take advantage of our state's characteristics, unique characteristics. Each island has its own particular dynamics and capacities that we think are going to be very, very attractive to the rest of our friends and neighbors, brothers and sisters in the Asia-Pacific region. And we hope that athletic events will fit into the individual environments, both here on Oahu and across the state. And we think under Shan's leadership and with his initiative and his vision, I believe that there are people assembled in this room today that have bought into it and understand that if we work on a cooperative basis and a collaborative basis with one another in the state, whether it's institutionally like the Hawaii Tourism Authority and the University of Hawaii, or whether it's organizational in terms of different teams and groups, everything from surfing to rugby to baseball and other sporting activities that are international in scope. If we can get people to start thinking about Hawaii for their training and for their events, for their venues, there is a worldwide opportunity now available to us. One of the interesting things about television today is that we're able to see sporting events. If you just take a look at the Star Advertiser back page, the TV page alone, you'll find on occasion now that can be as much as 6 inches long because we're talking about international rugby. We're talking about international soccer. We're talking about international variations on rugby and soccer that now have worldwide audiences, and that world is increasingly the Asia-Pacific region. That's where the population is. That's where the expansion of opportunity for sporting events is. And Shan had this unique vision and thought about, well, why not make Hawaii the hub? Both for training, for events, including international events, so it's a genuine pleasure for me today to have the opportunity then to introduce Shan with the Sports Development Initiative so that he can elaborate as to what we expect to achieve with that initiative. Lieutenant Governor Tsutsui.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you. Good. Thank you, Governor, and I want to thank all of you for being here today. It is, like the Governor said, a very exciting day. The Governor and I had a conversation several months ago talking about the possibilities of really looking at the sport industry and how Hawaii can be able to really develop this industry and really capitalize from our beautiful location right here in the middle of the Pacific. And so I'm really pleased today that, with so many of you in the room, many members of the community who have had the opportunity to work with over the last several months, although we're making the announcement, a formal announcement today, there has been much that we have already started to work on. I'm proud to say that there have been a number of meetings with the Hawaii Tourism Authority, with the University of Hawaii system, private universities, many of the folks in the private sector who represent different sporting events, and many members of the community. And what we really want to do is this is a starting point. This is an opportunity, I think, for this administration to really take a lead role in trying to help develop this industry. And so, with that effort and with everyone coming together, I think we'll really see a lot of benefits. Obviously, we're going to be looking for opportunities to have additional sporting events held here locally. We do understand that facilities are going to be one of the things that we're going to really have to focus on. For a number of years now, for decades, we've been talking about Aloha Stadium and what to do with it. And so I'm going to be working very closely with the Stadium Authority and many of the users and the stakeholders of Aloha Stadium to try to figure out what is the best plan going forward. So there'll be many opportunities. I think, obviously, as the governor said, developing a sport industry will be beneficial not only for our economy, but really for our entire community. So I look forward in the next coming months to be working with many of you as we move forward. I think the more ideas we get, I think the better we will be able to position ourselves to be successful in the long run. So, again, I think this is a tremendous step. I really thank the governor for his foresight and vision, and realizing that this sport industry can be something that Hawaii can really turn into be something positive for the long term. So with that, I guess we'll open up if we have any questions about this, specifically sports, and then I think we'll take some other questions later. Dave?
You mentioned the Aloha Stadium, and you mentioned the University of Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And one of the issues that's been going on for a long time is that maybe the best deal for all concerned isn't being done there. It sounds like from what you're saying that maybe you can help broker something through this.
Yeah, and I think we want to bring people together. I think first and foremost, obviously the University of Hawaii is one of the major tenants there at Aloha Stadium, and this has been, as you mentioned, an ongoing issue. And so hopefully with the administration being a part of it and being proactive, we can try to find a resolution that works for all parties. And so obviously, we're going to move forward with a study that's currently being done by the Stadium Authority to best understand whether we should look at the existing facility, whether we should renovate it, whether we should build a new stadium on the existing site, whether a new stadium should be relocated somewhere else. But obviously, we want to talk to all the users and make sure that it works for everyone.
In the meantime, before that, though, is there, are you planning meetings with those groups to try to see what can be done now as far as the contract?
We definitely want to work on short-term as well as long-term opportunities. So we want to make sure that we can find a solution that works in the best interest of both the stadium, the other users, as well as the University of Hawaii in the short term. So we'll definitely be working on that. I did have a conversation with Ben Jay yesterday. I know he was on a plane last night heading out to San Diego. So he's very excited about it. I want to thank Chancellor Apple for his vision and leadership too at the University of Hawaii and his support of University of Hawaii athletics. And I think together we'll make sure that we can resolve a lot of these issues.
Lieutenant Governor,
yes.
Congratulations on your father making the Maui High School Hall of Fame. Anyway, yeah. You mentioned the neighbor islands. What role will they play in the future?
Well, I think we want to make sure that we expand sporting opportunities to the neighbor islands. Recently, I think just as of yesterday, the Mayor Arakawa in Maui announced that he had acquired additional 200 acres for youth sporting fields. And, we want to make sure that, the neighbor islands do get their fair share of tournaments. Pacific Links and Maikakane have done a tremendous job here. And we just want to work with the neighboring counties to see if there are opportunities like that we can expand to the neighbor islands as well.
Specifically, what types of events are we looking about and thinking about bringing here?
So obviously HTA has been taking the lead role all this time, and we're not there to replace them. I think what we want to do is be a support mechanism so that we can allow HTA to continue to be successful in contract negotiations. I think it's going to be important for this administration to really lend its support and so for that. So when we do approach the NFL and looking at events, including the Pro Bowl, and maybe not limited to, looking at maybe possibly having preseason games done here. The NFL is now currently playing in a number of different places, including Europe. And so we want them to know that, Hawaii is open for business, and we'd welcome them to come here. We want to look at, in the past, the NBA has had, the Lakers were here for a couple years, doing some of their training before the season started. We want to work with the NBA and other teams to see if there are other opportunities like that to make Hawaii a place that they can call home during the off season.
And what sort of timetable are we looking at in terms of,
The sooner the better. We're going to start tomorrow. Go. Yeah, and we've been talking with HTA as well as the Rugby Association, and one of the things that we want to do is really explore hosting a number of tournaments here. We've already been talking about a few of them. Many of you might be familiar with the Sevens tournament, and we want to Hawaii wants to be the home to tournaments like that in the future.
What about Kaka'ako? I know there's a lot of talk about Ellison's infusion of money in Lanai, and I know he had looked, I think, at Kewalo as some kind of an event to draw the big boats, the luxury yachts here. I know there's a plan on the table, I think at HCDA, for a volleyball facility, and you're a big fan, Governor, of beach volleyball. How does that all
Yes.
play in?
Can you want to come over here and give an outline? That's it. Everything from beach volleyball to international rugby. Just think if we had the rugby tournaments are just huge all around the world. I'm just back from vacation in France, and the television is dominated by rugby on national basis. And NBC has just started to emphasize rugby sevens collegiately. I'm interested, and I know I'm not the only one, in perhaps getting a club sport. I'd love to see rugby as a club sport, and maybe we could get some support for that. That Hawaii would sponsor. That not necessarily have to be the university, although I think that's another idea that we could have. Because we can draw on the Asia Pacific region, which is really obsessed with rugby. New Zealand, of course, the All Blacks are among the leaders year in and year out in that area. International golf. Why should it just be the Europeans and the Americans emphasized? The potential public for golf, including viewing of golf, is India and China alone, let alone Southeast Asia. We're talking billions of people, and upcoming stars, male and female, in tennis, in golf. In all kinds of areas, then Hawaii can be a natural draw. Again, I'm going to emphasize we want to be an anchor for that. Volleyball is international now. It's among the most watched sports in the Olympics now. It's something that all kinds of countries can be involved in. Soccer. The World Cup now. The United States is in that, but you have Monaco and Luxembourg and other Iceland countries now involving themselves with soccer, so that there is a genuine world wide network of not only literal networks in terms of television broadcasting, but networks of fans for whom a trip to Hawaii for a tournament would be something that would be an automatic draw if we made it available. So Shan is going to be working with the nonprofit organizations and groups here in this room, as well as those who have an organized business interest in seeing people coming to Hawaii, to try to start putting these opportunities together. Your question started off with Mr. Ellison and the incredible comeback. The comeback of this century, first of these 13 years of this century, but one of the greatest comebacks in sport ever, and winning the America's Cup. And I can assure you that we were cheering them on from Hawaii. When they were down 6 to -2, there were those of us in Hawaii who sent messages to them, including from the Honolulu Cookie Company and so on, you know, a little sustenance for them. And we said, "Emua, you know, Unipa'a, you know, you can do this. You can come back." So Mr. Ellison and the America's Cup team is well aware that Hawaii was pulling for them when everybody else said they were finished, that they were through, that they weren't going to make it. And so yes, of course, we would be delighted to work with the America's Cup people and the international yachting community itself to try and make an international venue here in Hawaii. We'd have to compete with everybody else, but we can do it. The great vision that Shan had and has today in the conversations that he initiated with me was that why should we take a back seat? If we really mean it, that we want to be the anchor of the Pacific, this is a venue. The sporting venue offers us a tremendous opportunity to show what we can do and to move forward. So whether it's any of the issues, any of the sporting categories that you mentioned, we're going to be exploring every one of them.
How have talks been going with the NFL in regards to the Pro Bowl and its future here?
Well, I haven't had any specifically. Mike, have you?
Good, they're going good.
They're going good.
Look, it's crystal clear that from the players' point of view, from their families' point of view, from the attraction of Hawaii in terms of extracurricular activity for the NFL, that far and away Hawaii is number one in their hearts and minds, and so we want to maximize that. We think that is a genuine opportunity for the National Football League, in the sense of good relationships between owners, players, and the league management itself. And people love seeing it the world over. They love seeing Hawaii, particularly at that time of year. So we think it's an ideal combination, and what we want to do then is make sure that we don't take it for granted that that because we have that initial good relationship and the desire of the players in particular to be in Hawaii, that we simply rely on that. We're going to make sure that it's understood that will provide facilities and infrastructure that will make it not only a pleasure to see, but from an institutional point of view and from a operational point of view, something that is able to be accomplished with ease and with a sense of real accomplishment.
Governor, switching gears, the AG issued his opinion today regarding a lawmaker's ability to enact a same-sex marriage bill. How much more confident does that make you, since critics had been calling for letting the voters decide through a constitutional amendment?
Well, constitutional amendment is one thing. The capacity of the legislature to make decisions with regard to marriage equity in the light of the recent Supreme Court decisions, I think is something that we'll just proceed with. I'm not quite sure what a constitutional amendment has to do with the passage of legislation with regard to marriage equity.
As far as having that formal opinion from the AG saying that they do have the ability to do that, to enact the legislation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I never thought they didn't. So I'm looking forward to the issue being resolved.
Are you expecting to be a very close vote?
No, I'm expecting that people will vote on the merits of the bill. For those who are in opposition to the idea of marriage equity, they'll be in opposition. For those who are for it, they'll be for it. The only question would we respect the First Amendment requirements with regard to religious beliefs? And we've been working very, very hard. The Judiciary Committees have done very, very good work. Chairman Rhodes and Chairman He have been showed a lot of due diligence in this, working on the question of making sure everybody's rights and beliefs were respected. I think that will be what the vote turns on. If people believe that there has been respect shown and legal measures taken to ensure that people's religious beliefs will not be abrogated, I believe that there'll be a very solid vote.
As far as the government shutdown, aside from the temporary hiring freeze for some departments, are there any other immediate or looming impacts for Hawaii?
Well, maybe the idea of a hiring freeze is a bit misleading. All we're saying is that for those who are in the process of being interviewed and so on, keep on doing it. For the positions that we're going to be instituting, it will take place in January. We simply want to have a little bit of breathing room to try to determine what we can and cannot do, both on the state and county level, to make sure that we're able to act in a responsible way fiscally. The circumstances about funding operations of the government, of the federal government, meeting the obligations of raising the debt limit, and are literally hour to hour and a work in progress. So it's very difficult for us to make definitive moves that we might have to take a different look at later on. So that's one of the reasons I'm going up to Washington today to, with the support of all the mayors, form a co-op, if you will, a legislative co-op with the congressional delegation, the counties, and the state to be able to address the situation as it evolves.
So what's specific on your Washington agenda, aside from meeting with the
Well,
congressional delegation?
we want to put together a framework for being able to talk with one another as events unfold. If you're dealing with a program of like nutritional assistance, for example, supplemental nutritional assistance, that has one set of dynamics that are different from the dynamics associated with Title I funding for school lunches. So what we need is to have a ongoing forum, if you will, with people in place like our chiefs of staff and people assigned from the various congressional offices and so on, to be able to have an ongoing dialogue with one another so that we can figure out what we need to do and what we can do. Let me give you a quick example. It's one thing to say, well, can the state pick up the funding, say, for national parks or something like that? Well, it's public money. I can't. Nobody can just pick up the funding for opening up parks. For example, the federal parks, they have federal employees. The state just can't write a check to a federal employee to pay their salary or their benefits. There's questions of liability. What if something goes wrong or somebody doesn't do their job correctly? Is the state then liable for that activity? And even if you could figure out some way to utilize state funds to pick up a supplemental nutrition program or open the gates to a national park, it will still take time to do that. It's not as if it's an automatic. It's not an ATM approach. So that involves payrolls. It involves accounting. I'm not trying to cite so much the reasons why you can't do it, so much as to say that it's a disservice to the failure. It's a disservice to understanding what the failure to meet our obligations in Washington by a small faction of the Republican Party in the House, what it means and what that's done. It's a failure to do what we're supposed to do as legislators. When you run for office, you run you run on the basis of asking people to put their faith and trust in you, that you will take care of what is necessary for the government to do, that you pay your bills, that you meet your obligations. You can have discussions back and forth as to what the policy should be with regard to that. But to say that you will fail to meet your obligations, your fundamental obligations, or to threaten that you will shut the government down unless your particular policy is adhered to, is the ultimate irresponsibility. And to in turn allow a small faction of any party, in this instance the Republican Party, to dictate to the rest of the world on the basis of their ideological obsessions, it has resulted within the last hour in the credit rating company Fitch putting the United States of America's credibility with regard to its finances on a negative watch. On a negative watch. It's beyond irresponsibility. I can tell you right now, having served in every legislative venue that there is, having had the privilege of it, the State House of Representatives, the State Senate, the City Council, and the Congress of the United States for 2 decades. If the Speaker of the House will put a bill on the floor that funds the government, that raises the debt limit, and names conferees to deal with the question of the budget, it will pass overwhelmingly with Democrat and Republican support. It will pass on a bipartisan basis. This is not Democrats versus Republicans. This is Democrats and Republicans versus a small faction of people who call themselves Republicans, but who are actually these Tea Party folks who have no vision of what it is to engage in responsible government. It is possible right now, this minute, to put a bill on the floor that will get an overwhelming Democrat and Republican vote. It requires the Speaker of the House to act as Speaker of the House of Representatives and not leader of the Republican conference.
Governor, is it your belief that if they don't deal with this, that Hawaii could be hardest hit, just given our locale, given our reliance on the military and tourism?
Well, that's why we're putting together, that's why I'm going to Washington to solidify a set of protocols and an infrastructure, if you will, for the delegation, the counties and the state to be able to act in concert with one another, to be able to address any of those consequences as they come. The reason I can't be more specific about it is I have no idea yet from hour to hour what it is that they will put forward if they're able to vote it at all. But in the meantime, every county and all the departments of the state are working day in and day out to try and figure out where we have reserves of funds, where we have any jurisdiction or control over funds at all. Some of these funds, are contracted out of the federal government through federal departments, and the state merely is the pass-through for them. So we don't even have access to the mechanisms that put those funds forward. So. And some programs are 100% federal funded. I mean, in other words, all the employees are ostensibly state employees, but they're actually the funding for the positions and the benefits and everything is 100% federal. So when in terms of being hit hard or not, what we intend to do is to see to it that we understand what it is that's available to us and to try to take steps accordingly, depending on what the circumstances are as they evolve financially. The state itself, in terms of our administration, I'm happy to say, I believe is, we got a stable. We stopped the bleeding that we faced 3 years ago, and I'm very optimistic that we're going to get a very, very good report. Maybe even go to the positive side in terms of our economic outlook. And again, I hope to be able to report on that fairly soon. I believe the credit rating companies like Fitch and Standard & Poor's and Moody's will have their reports ready shortly. So I think we're in very good position, and I'd hate to see that jeopardized. All the hard work that's been done, the tough decisions that had to be taken, the hard choices that had to be made over the last 3 years, I'd hate to see that put in jeopardy because of the irresponsibility of a small faction of people who don't understand that they live in a nation in which the government is truly representative of the people, and for them to try and bring that government to its knees is something that is beyond reprehensible. So back to sports. I just want to. It is a priority.
Of all the different sports.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, so we don't, no, yeah. So I think facilities obviously will be something we're gonna have to focus on, because without the facilities, then, we can't have these types of events. So, but we'll be looking, and part of it is then how do we pay for these things, right? So is it a public-private partnership? Are these state facilities that are run by the state, or are these state facilities that are leased out and managed and operated by someone else? So we're gonna be looking and exploring all those different options. I mean, so this is why we're doing it,
What kind of role does UH play in all of this? Facilities be one of the chief components?
Well, yeah, I think the University of Hawaii and a lot of our other private universities here, will play a significant role in terms of determining how we move forward. I mean, we want to make sure that it's a positive experience, not just for spectators, but obviously for a lot of our student athletes, especially our local ones who have been born and raised here and have an opportunity to stay at home and get a good quality education, and to, as well, and to develop their sports skills along the way. So, we're going to be working together to make sure that this thing works, not just from the professional athlete sport, but all the way down to our youngest student athletes.
What types of organizations have you guys been speaking with right now in regards to this initiative?
Well, there have been a lot. I mean, we have some members from the Professional Rugby Association who's here. We've talked to folks who want to have professional soccer here. I've been working with HTA and their sports coordinator to try to figure out how we can best partner up to be able to enhance some of these discussions, and to really let a lot of these professional leagues know that Hawaii is serious about having them be here, and we want to have a partnership, a long-term partnership. So, and we need to develop that, and I think the best way to develop that is to have the administration being part of those discussions. I mean, we want to make sure that HTA is fully equipped when we have those contract negotiations to make sure that we're successful in the end.
Have negotiations started yet? Because I just want to, at this point, what league are you guys furthest along with in regards?
We've had just informal talks, so nothing specific, nothing, but people have come to us and they're interested in playing a number of different events here, and we're going to make sure that we follow through on all of them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.